Hi my muddy people, welcome back. I'm Nat at Mud Magic. Thank you for joining me again for a Stevie the Wonder Wheel senior throwing session. This is my first time throwing on my brand new wheel. He finally turned up today. So this is the first piece I'm throwing. So I'm doing a 4 kilo, about 10 pound bowl. So I did the big bowl in the white clay, the one with the crying bowl, the one I cried. That one it was great, but then afterwards I did a brown one, and this 33 clay, it's a bit groggier, so it's really, it was really firm and really easier to do the bowl. So I don't know if it was just a fluke, we'll find out. So what I have done is, this is 2 kilos, and then I've got another 2 kilos to put on top. So people are always asking me how I center big clay. So I always say I'm not going to show it because it's so hard, but I thought, oh, give it a go. I might edit it out. So anyway, the other good news is that Freddie is clicking away out there. Tick, 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 Potter's favourite noise. So he is, the electrician came today as well, so it's all happening here. Ended up not being the elements, it was the relay switches. So change them out heaps cheaper, but I've already got the elements, so I'll just keep them for if and when I need them. I'm sure I will. So then what I do, because I can't center massive pieces of clay, I do usually maximum about 2 kilos, and I get it centered, and then you kind of flatten out, put a bit of a divot there, and my hand has naturally dried that, so you leave it a bit dry, and then you get your second 2 kilos, and if I do 5, then I do another 1 kilo on the top. So I've never done more than 5. I tried once, but the wheel didn't like it. My wheel sort of slowed and groaned, so I thought, oh, I don't want to do that to my wheel, so I stopped pretty quick. So you push it down onto it, well, you try to. This is the hard part, but once you get it on and connected, kind of get it where it's connected onto the bottom piece. The theory behind it is, because you've already centered the bottom piece, it's not as difficult. I'm still not saying it's easy, but and then you just got to get them all combined together. So I'm not talking to you because I can't do that. Oh, it takes all my strength. So, pushing with both hands because I'm not that strong, and sort of keeping this hand folded over the top to keep the top from pushing up. So that just reminded me, you might hear a bit of a tappy noise and stuff, because when I tried to use Stevie Take 2 this afternoon, I realised the bat pins were Australian bat pins. So you would think it would be the same, wouldn't you? No, didn't know either. So there are bat pins in the UK, which was what my Hartley and Noble system was. So all my bats fit that system. So their pins are heaps smaller, and they're closer together. Yeah, closer together. Only by 1/2 centimetre. How stupid. So like, what's that, 1/8 of an inch or something, tiny little bit. So I had to drill out, not only drill out the holes bigger, because the bat pins were so much bigger that they wouldn't fit over the pins anyway, but also had to do them sort of more oval so that they would fit. Anyway, it's been an ongoing day trying to get them. So because of that, obviously they're not going to be perfect fit. So they are pretty good, but you may hear a bit of knocking around. So first things first, what shape bowl are we going to do? I think I want to do more of that bowl shape I've been doing lately, rather than the V shape that I used to always do. So for that, I need a bigger base. And then I'm just gonna try and find the center. And as I've said to you before, I'm not as worried with big pieces about getting them perfectly centered because it's really hard to do. So you can cut the top of your rim off if you need, or you can just kind of feel your way as you go with it and try and recenter it a bit. So as I've said to you before, with speed of pulling out, people often get confused with that. I mean, it's all about getting the feel for your own clay. All clay is different. But basically, you just pull out, your clay will tell you. So if you're not forcing, obviously you have to force it, but if you kind of just go with the speed it wants to go at, with your rotations of your wheel, you should be right. That's quite a, I know I like a big foot, but that's a bit ridiculous. So the good thing about doing this, you've probably seen in my other videos, I usually do this a few times, is because it compresses your base as well. But also too, there's nothing worse than getting a base that's too thin. Much harder to put clay back into the base. You can do it, but it's not fun. I'd rather have to redo this and compress at the same time than have to try and push clay back from the wall into the base. Right. So I do like a big base anyway, I've told you before, because then I can put more of a pedestal, more of a deeper foot. Oh, I can't wait to open Freddie. I'm scared. But I've got a few, it might be a bit repetitive for you because I've got a few refires in there from the last kiln opening, because they wouldn't have been vitrified on the top shelf. So that feels a bit up and down wobbly, but I think that's my back on the wheel as well. That's right, we'll see how we go. And the very top shelf, which I will see because of course I can't help myself, I have to have a sneak peek, is a flat platter with the what do they call it, the frozen pond technique, but this time with smoky mallow, which I have seen people do, and it puts purple in the lines instead of the brown that you usually get from the iron luster, which is what I did the first time I did the technique, was iron luster. Alright, so start. Still not convinced, still think that's a bit thick. Might just go down just a little bit more. Because the thing is, it doesn't matter because you can get it trimming, but why waste the clay when you can have it in your wall? You might as well have it in your wall. Right, that feels a bit better. Alright, so my first pull, as I've said before, is never a pull. It's always about just evening out, feeling it. I don't know if you saw that. I don't know if my angle's all that good, my camera angle. But instead of having fingerprints around the side now, it's a much straighter, much more even. I'm a bit scared to touch the camera. I actually put my camera on the big tripod this time after it fell off last time. Try and bring it it down just a little bit. There we go. It might be better. Cut the top of my head off, but that's okay. It's more about the bowl, right? All right. So let's see. I'm a bit scared to do this after such a long break, and it feels really bumpy on the wheel, which is worrying me for when we get up higher, but as I've said before, it'll be what it'll be. Sometimes that can be good to show you how to fix things if I can fix it. How to get the clay up on big pieces, which is also a whole nother kettle of fish. Where that saying came from, a whole nother kettle of fish. Maybe it's an Aussie thing. You're probably all thinking, where's your kettle of fish? I don't know. Kind of sounds like something that might have come out of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Isn't there a fish in that? I don't know. I'm just prattling. So as I've said to you before, with big bowls, or with anything, you always want to make them go inwards, because you don't want them flopping out on you against gravity. And I had somebody comment after, I think it was the big white bowl, it must have been the big white bowl I threw, and somebody commented and said that I used too much water and should use slip. But the thing is, you can't judge how a potter is throwing unless you know their clay. So this clay, I must admit, the 33 doesn't need as much water as the white. But the white, which I was throwing with on that particular video, when you're throwing large with the white, it needs a lot of water. It goes dry. It's not particularly stiff. It's not a groggy clay. I mean, I guess it is stiff, but not groggy. But it dries out really fast, whereas this tends to stay muddy, which is nice. I like. It's a shame. I mean, I prefer throwing with a 33 probably if I had to choose. However, I hate brown, as you know, although I'm starting to come around to it. I don't know what's happening to me. I'm starting to come on board, which is a bit scary. Now, where's my rib? I'm looking for my rib, but I've got all those beautiful new ribs. This is not one of that I showed you from Timu. I put them there somewhere. There's a whole pile of them, so maybe I should be using them. So with big, always compress your rim at some point, especially before you're going to shape, because it'll just strengthens your walls again. When you've been fiddling with your walls, it's not, I usually do inside as well. All those throw lines, much and all as we love them, and you can leave them in at the end. They can be little tiny divots of imperfections, like of weaknesses on big pieces, which I don't know why that reminded me. I'm going to try after this and throw a honey pot. One of my friends showed me a photo of a honey pot she bought, just a mass-produced thing, but I loved it. And honey is so popular at the markets. I thought, oh, I'm going to try my hand. So she sent me photos of this gorgeous honey pot, and I'm going to give it a go. Right, trying to tell him to go inwards, but he's not really behaving. No, he kind of is. He's got a bit of a bump there. I mean, I'm nearly at the shaping point now anyway, but I just want to get more of that clay up from the bottom. As I've said to you before with these videos, you can always fast forward. There's no point. I've rushed before on these videos and it definitely doesn't work. Let's see if I can get some of that weight up. It's a bit dry there. Don't know if you saw my hand catch then. That just means you've got it a bit dry. Even though I squished water on it, obviously missed a spot there, but that's okay. We got past it, so that's all right. So this has got quite a big base on him now. So he's not going to be a very big, or not, he's not going to be a very high bowl for the amount of clay, but I might start bowling him now. This is the scary part. I want to, what I really want to do is, or what I've attempted it a couple of times, not many times. He's seen Lynn's moon jars that he does. And then recently I saw, he didn't do a video on how to do them, or I couldn't find it, I did look. The moon jars. Normally he does the big moon and then he pinches right in and does this tiny little opening at the top. But this particular photo that I saw, he had actually made it into a lidded jar, which looked really cool and much more practical. So I thought, oh, I want to do that. So, with my white bowl that I threw, I stopped here because I could tell that I could feel that it was not happy. It was dancing around, it was not happy. So I'm going to push this a bit further and maybe I'll regret it. And all that clay that I haven't got up, I don't know if I can get that up now underneath having already bowled it, but we'll see. So my teacher told me, and I don't know if I've ever said it on here, my teacher told me that in Japan they have summer bowls and winter bowls, and winter bowls are like their udon bowls, udon noodle bowls. They're high-sided and enclosed, more enclosed, like more up that shape, so that your soup their theory is your soup and your food stays warmer in winter and it keeps all the heat in. Whereas they call this shape more of a summer bowl because it's open, it lets all the heat out, or if you have a salad in it, like that. So yeah, so I kind of like that knowledge of being able to say, well, this is a summer bowl. You can tell people at the markets and sound like you know what you're talking about. But yes, so you can tell, well, I don't know if you can tell, you watched my white bowl. There was no way I could have pushed it this far. It was never going to let me do it. The rim, a lot of you guys were saying that, like, there's all comments on it where you guys said, oh, I was holding my breath when you did that again, when you pulled him out again, and he was nowhere near this. So yeah, I'm glad that twice now it has been a success. So I hope you can tell from that angle, much prefer that shape. Could probably push him even further, he's quite happy. So if you're in Australia and you want to throw big, you can use the 33, and I still will and love it. But if you're just learning to throw big, go with the, sorry, did I say that? So you can use the 6 white. But if you're just learning to throw big and you're struggling and you're using the white, try the 33. Buff, it's a lot happier to go big, and I think it's because it has a tiny bit of grog in it. You can't even see the speck in it, and you can't feel it, but it's just a more stable clay. And I just thought know if you can see from there. Oh gosh, it's so hard to reach around without whacking it. I believe I might put a swirl in the bottom. Can you see the bottom? Don't know. Let's go for it. Okay, easy as that. So I really like the swirl with the once you glaze. Oh, I should whack the ring. Once you put glaze on it, really breaks beautifully over that swirl and makes it look like a hand thrown piece because it's got swirl. There we go. I think I fixed the rim. Okay. So I am going to go and I am going to throw attempt to throw a honey pot. If it works, there'll be a video, or if it's funny, there'll be a video. So what I might do, show you, if I can, I'll just take that off. Okay, are you still there? See if I can show you a better angle of the bowl. That's a much wider, which way am I going? Much wider, much flatter. Now we all know, summer bowl. All right, so thank you very much for joining. I will see you in a couple of days, or I might see you in a couple of minutes with the bee bowl, if it would be pot, lidded canister thing. I don't know. If it works, I'll see you in a couple of minutes. If it doesn't, I'll see you in a couple of days with my kiln unload. Thanks for joining, guys. Stay muddy and have a magic day. Bye.